Okay. So this is the map of the Tarrant County, the Travis County Public Utility Districts. We've got Bell Fortuna down here, Turner's Crossing, Entrada. You can see all these are south of Highway 290. Well, this is where that property is that the lady was laid on her PID taxes. So it doesn't show up. So a lot of these public utility districts are not filing the correct paperwork with the counties. So it's really challenging to find them. And we'll talk more about that here as we go on. So it occurred to me, not everybody understands what a PID is. So we'll discuss that very quickly. Basically, it's a special tax district that's created by a city or a county, and the vast majority of them are under Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Code. So it allows them to charge a tax against the properties. Typically, you'll see it isolated to one particular subdivision, and it funds infrastructure like the sidewalks, landscaping, parks, recreation, that kind of stuff. You'll see the developers will use PIDs instead of an HOA. One of the reasons for that is that the PID taxes are tax deductible, whereas the HOA are not. And then I think probably the other motivating factor is a lot of buyers avoid HOAs. And so as a developer, if I'm wanting to appeal to the widest buyer pool as possible, I'm going to use a PID instead of an HOA to fund that infrastructure. So here's the requirements for this new notice. First off, here we go again. It has to be provided to the buyers prior to execution of the contract. So you've got to put it up in MLS. When you receive the offers, you have to make sure that they've included that, not accept the offer until that notice is received. This applies to all the contracts after September 1st, and it's all real estate transactions, new construction, condos, commercial, unimproved, all transactions. And it's very specific about where it's located, what the name of it is, and what's the government entity that's authorized it. The buyers are required to sign the receipt, and it's also the title companies will be required to have it signed at closing as well. So, you know, the Texas Association of Realtors is working closely with the title industry regarding this. I hope they'll start working with the cities and the PIDs too, because there's so many of them out there that aren't showing up in the tax records, and it creates a challenge for us. So this is the information that's required to be in the notice: the address of the property, the name of the PID, name of the local government that has approved it, and then which statute it was created under. So fortunately, there's only 3 PIDs that are under Chapter 382. They're in Behar County, so not an issue for the majority of us. For all the other PIDs in the state, it's going to be Subchapter A, Chapter 32, and you'll see that on this new form. The penalties. So if the utility notice is not delivered prior to execution of the contract, the buyer can terminate the contract anytime up to closing and get their earnest money back. Here's the kicker: they can file a lawsuit for damages that may require the seller to return all costs and reconvey the property back to the seller. Holy man, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that in the contract information. So like, that's a big deal. However, if that notice is executed at closing, the buyers cannot sue for the damages. So it's nice that that's out is there, because having to reconvey the property back to the seller, it's like, oh my gosh, that would be just insane. So if you've looked at the MUD notices, these penalties are very, very similar to what you see there. So the updated sales contract, the TREC 1 to 4 family improved has been updated with this. And then the condominium, the commercials, all of them will be updated with this new requirement. So this is how it will look, and it's still in a draft. It's still in the public comment phase, so it may change again before they roll it out, but I kind of doubt it. Fortunately, they've reduced a lot of the language regarding the public improvement districts, and basically just say, hey, if this property is in a PID, then this addendum will be attached to the contract. So when do we start using these? So starting September 1st, we'll start using these new contracts. We need to be careful because zip form, transaction desk, the various places that we get our forms from, both versions of the contracts are probably going to be there up till September 1st. So we just need to be careful that we're picking the correct one. So where do we find these PID notices? So they're supposed to be filed with the county clerk with a service plan, and they're supposed to update them on or after September 1st. This is an example of the notice that is with that Rose Hill PID in Manor, Texas. We can also use the form that's promulgated by TREC, and the use is voluntary. You can either use this form or you can use the form that is produced by the PID itself. But yeah, regardless, one of those two must be delivered to the buyer and receipted prior to execution of the contract. So this is what it looks like. It's really pretty straightforward. The name of the local government entity that's levying the assessment, the property address, the government entity, the name of the PID, and then for the vast majority of it's going to be subchapter A, chapter 372. Talks about how, given notice that there's a tax that will be assigned to this, and that they have to pay it. Again, the government entity, the government entity is in here a lot. So it's really a pretty simple form to fill out. Now you know that 372 is going to be appropriate to those of us who are outside of Behar County. So completing this notice, they're not required to file a copy of their notice until they next update their services. So there's going to be a period of time where we're going to have to search for that information. And the Texas Association of Realtors suggests that we may have the seller sign the notice of information from other sources to give us a little additional protection there. So where to find it? I showed you in Realist, or in the tax records, you'll find all the taxing entities. If there's a water control improvement district, a PID, a MUD, you'll find them displayed here, and know that you're going to have to do some work to get the notice for that. Determining the name of the municipality or the county commissioners. Typically the website for the PID will provide that. It may be available on the MLS or on the Central Appraisal District website. Otherwise, you'll just have to do some web search. So using that Rose Hill, for example, there's just no indication that that's there other than the seller should be aware of it. So another thing to add to our when we're completing the list agreements is to be sure to ask about the PIDs if there's any possibility of it being there. I would mention that the statutes limit this to municipalities and counties with more than 100,000 people. So some of your smaller, more rural counties, you're not going to find the PIDs there because it doesn't meet the statutory requirement. Exemptions, yes, we have exemptions and limits of liability. So if you look at all these, exemptions, they look really familiar because they're pretty much in line with the exemptions for the seller's disclosure notice. Limits of liability. So title companies, real estate brokers, attorneys are not liable for damages if the local government failed to file the PID service with the county clerk or incorrect notice was unintentionally provided. So we're only held to the standard of being required to disclose what we can find. If it's not, if we can't find it, then we're not held liable for it. So, in summary, September 1st, we're required to provide this notice when the property is in a public improvement district. We can either use the PID form or the promulgated addendum. The penalties include the termination of contract and lawsuit for the damages, and all the contracts for all transactions will be updated to include this change. It's going to be challenging to find these PIDs. We'll just do the best we can and count on the limits of liability to get us through. The exemptions for this are similar to the seller's disclosure notice, and the broker liability is limited to the available accurate data. So it's not real complicated, but it is going to be a little extra work for us. It's a good reminder to search for these additional taxing entities that are going to require notices to be signed prior to contracts being executed to protect your seller from having a contract terminated late in the game. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. It was a little hard to hear, but I have a question. At some point you said the seller should know if they are in a PID, but also we have to find it if it is there, which means relying on the information from the seller is not necessarily accurate. So can you give us an example how to find it? I'll give you my address and let's find my property if I have a PID on it, because I do know we're in the PID area. What do you think?
Give me a second here.
I'm North Dallas.
I'll have to set my, I'll have to change my realist settings to include Dallas County. Is that correct?
Actually, it's Collin County.
Okay. Give me a second. I will bring that up and share it.
Where is realist? Can you share? No, you can't.
Yeah, as you can tell, I'm having some problems with my internet. I'm sorry about that. It was great timing.
How come I can't find mine?
Are you in realist?
Oh, tax. Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see the jurisdictions?
I couldn't hear.
Do you see the jurisdictions in realist?
Multiple counties. Yeah, I can do Collin County. I can do.
I thought we
Yes.
look at the report for your property.
Do I search for my property
Sure.
address? Okay. I got my property address, comparables, market trends, neighbors. Oh, you know what? I have two computers. Let me do this. I need to see myself. Where is this? Standard. Okay, let's see if you guys can see this. Okay, it's fine. You can see this?
Let me see.
It's
Can she share the screen with you?
it's not a share screen, it's the other computer that I have. I can't share the
Oh.
screen. Is it visible?
Not really.
Sort of make it out. Can you scroll down a little bit to the jurisdictions?
Jurisdiction, I don't see jurisdiction. Neighbor profile, realist, property details over here. Where
Yeah.
would the jurisdiction be?
Yeah, scroll down some.
Okay. All the way to the bottom. Okay. Assessment tax, oh, improved tax information.
Perhaps.
Information,
What-
Assessment tax.
what's
Oh,
the-
jurisdiction, right here. Found it. Right here, jurisdiction.
What's the address?
3446 Triple Crown Street.
Is that Plano?
No, it's Salina.
Can you see it on my screen here?
I gotta look. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
So we go down here to jurisdiction. So you've got Salina City, Salina County, the community college, the ISD. So there's no PID, there's no MUD or anything. So this jurisdiction is what we're looking for right here.
Okay, so it will show over there if I have a PID.
It should.
If I own any money on the PID, basically.
Right.
Because I know for a fact that I live in a neighborhood that has a PID, and sometimes the PID is being paid at the beginning when the house was bought. Some people didn't pay, some people did, and we didn't buy it new. So I was just trying to see if how.
Do you receive a separate tax notice from them?
That's why I don't have an I don't have another tax notice. No.
Is it just included with your property tax?
Well, that's the question, because I do know I was not a realtor at first, and when we bought the house, so I'm not really familiar with exactly how this PID goes. All I know is my neighborhood is fairly new, started building in 2015, I guess, and there is a PID. Every single new building, it's hit with a PID. Now, some builders help or inform their new owners, you have a PID, it's about $35,000. And some builders like Coventry Homes, they pay, actually it's built in, they pay their PID. Some homeowners decide to pay it then or whatever happens. All I know is that we signed the papers being informed that we do have some sort of PID, but I wasn't really familiar what that was at that time. And now that you mentioned it, I'm like, hey, do we still have to pay that PID? Is it paid off? Is it not paid off? So knowing that I'm in a, and also I have an HOA, so they don't exclude each other. We have a PID, but if it's been paid off, my house will be in the clear. So whenever I sell the house, or any seller that is in my situation, they will not have to have a PID or the form, or do they? Do I still have to put the form out? Because I do know I'm in a PID, even though there's nothing owned.
Well, you have to have the actual information about the PID to be able to do it. See what we can find the information on that real quick here.
Okay.
This is Salina one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch.
It's Mustang Lakes, not the lakes at Mustang, but Mustang Lakes.
The lakes
I
at
don't-
Mustang Ranch.
I don't know. It's like that. That's not it. I mean, our neighborhood is not called that. It's called Mustang Lakes, but it might be that one if nothing else shows, because, you know, yeah, it might be that one. So you are on Unicup. So why not? Okay. View Unicup.
Chapter 372.
Lakeside Mustang Ranch.
Here's their
Phase one,
service
phase two,
plan
phase four.
update.
No, those are phase one, phase two, phase three. Those are, you know what, those are portions that the builders are taking at a time, and they number them, and then they probably do a separate PID for each and every one of them.
Okay. So I'm not seeing their notice anywhere. So you'd
So
probably
if
have,
there is anybody in my,
so you'd probably have to use the TREC promulgated form.
so you can get easily lost in all that information and not really find what you're looking for.
It can be challenging. There's supposed to be a map somewhere. Go back up to the top. Oh, Appendix A. Goodness. Be nice if they labeled the streets, huh?
I am on the one that says POD 1B 21.4 upper
Okay.
right. Upper right, to the right, not lower, go lower, to the right, up a little bit, up to the left. All right, that's POD, right above O, from POD 1B, right above the O, that's my house.
Right there, okay.
The left, about the P, actually about above the P, 2 houses above P.
Okay.
See that P? He's like, I'm 2 houses above P. That doesn't sound good, does it? Okay, what page is that? So what exactly it is that I need to pull out for selling of this house?
So, yeah, you could, reach out to them and ask them for a copy of their notice, or you could just use the TREC promulgated form.
We see, if I'm the seller, I would not know what to put out from my package. I have nothing. So I'm going to have a bunch of sellers like me that have no clue. And I should have a clue. I'm gonna go digging all my paperwork that we bought the house with, and I'm like, what is this?
Yep.
But a
Thus,
seller would not know.
yep. Thus the value of a competent real estate agent.
Right. I'm gonna get really competent in this PID. I want to beat everybody else.
So does that answer
So-
your question?
No, if the PID is paid off, is it still necessary to provide the notice?
Well, no, because there's no longer an assessment. Let's see when this ends. So you're not getting a fee for it?
No, but they might be sneaky and hit me with a very big bill once every 5 years. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it would take a little research to find out if, I mean, typically they run 20, 30, 40 years. But it looked, I see this one says a 5-year plan. So, perhaps, where did I see that?
Dan, is it not included in taxes? I thought it was rolled into your like tax bill.
Yeah, the 5-year service plan. So yeah, you'd have to do a little research to find out if it's paid off or not. If it's paid off, then there's no longer any tax being assessed.
Okay, I'm gonna work on mine to see how that clears out, because at least I know I'm on PID. I can figure it out if it's paid off on my own, and then I'll figure out for other people.
Yep.
Because it's a mess. It's really hard to figure it out if you still have a PID on your own on a certain home. Now, I have to tell you, these 5-year service plan, when they say assessment year 20 to 21, I'm in phase 2. My building is a phase 2. It's not a phase 1, it's a phase 2. But over here, you still have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It's not finished. None of the phases are completed, like all the lots built. There are still available lots in each of these phases. So it's very, very hard to pinpoint which house or how much they have, unless the builder should know.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you bringing this up because it illustrates the challenges of getting this information.
Well, thank you. Do the builders know? Do the builders may have that information if it has been paid from the very beginning?
They certainly should.
Okay, so that's a very good place to start, especially in these new neighborhoods, because if the houses are newer, that's most likely to have the PID, or they can be hit at any time. You can find those at any time, not just in new neighborhoods.
That's my understanding, yes.
If they want to do a new sidewalk or a new park or a new whatever, they bring a PID and then give you the bill.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's very, very, very informative today. Thank you so much.
Yep, you're welcome. Anybody else?
Dan, how prevalent are these in the Austin area? Like, do you have any clue? Is it like 80, 10%, 15%?
Well, I don't. I showed you that Travis County map that showed that there was like 6 or 7, but that one that I had experience with in Maynard, that's in Travis County, and it doesn't appear on any of the tax records. The only way I found it was off of that letter that they sent the buyer saying she owed the money. That's the only way I knew how to find it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that map was good. Can that become a resource available to us?
Sure. That came from the Travis County website.
Okay, thank you.
I want to add to her question. Since that particular seller did have the information, but let's assume you were talking to the seller at the point right before they received the notice and closing right before they received that notice, wouldn't that qualify as exclusion from liability because you just didn't have the information and it was never posted anywhere?
Right. Yeah. on this Rose Hill situation, it's not posted anywhere. We can't be held responsible for information we don't have access to. So fortunately, they did have the forethought to protect us in that way.
Okay, good, good.
Dan, I have a question for you. I may have missed some information about, you said something about if a city has 100,000 people, or if a city has less than 100,000 people, there's not a requirement to post it or something like that. Can you repeat what you said about that?
Yeah, I did some research on the statutes because I wanted to be knowledgeable about what I'm talking about today. And I ran across, it's kind of confusing. It talks about different populations of cities and counties, and different sections had different minimums, but the very lowest minimum was 100,000 people. So if this city or county was less than 100,000 people, they did not have the statutory authority to create a PID. And another reason to be out in the country.
Okay, yeah, I'm in Fredericksburg, so I thought, oh no, I hope I don't want to miss something. Did you also say that in the seller's disclosure notice, there's somewhere that the seller needs to indicate whether or not they're in a PID? I didn't catch that either. Sorry.
No. The seller's disclosure notice will not be updated with this. It's the contract was changed to make reference to this new addendum or this new notice. We can either use the notice that is promulgated by TREC, or if we can find the notice for the PID, then we can use that. But I've not seen anything that they're not going to change the seller's disclosure notice regarding the PIDs. Just the contracts. Good question.
So if I understand correctly, do we need to include this new TREC notice when we give to all of our listing clients? Does that just need to be part of the standard paperwork now? Or are we just relying verbally on the sellers to tell us whether or not they're in a PID?
But yes, it's very helpful to ask the seller about the PID. And then the only other two places that you can really go are realist tax and then your county's central appraisal district records. That's where that information is supposed to be available. And as I understand it, if it's not available there, then we're not liable for it. So, Travis County's got 2 million people in it, and we've got, a handful of PIDs. They're not real common. You look there in Collin County, it looked like there were 7 or 8 there. It's not something that we're going to regularly deal with, which makes it even worse because it's one of those things that just comes up every now and then. It's real easy to forget.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha. Yeah, I try to keep all of my mentees and my new agents. The very first place to start when you're researching a property is on Realist. You get a lot of great information there, and it'll give you the heads up that there's a utility here that is going to require a notice before the contract signed.
Dan, I just looked up, we have an active listing right now, and it looks like it is in a PID.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this addendum, which I'm not finding as it's not active anywhere yet that we could actually fill out right now.
Right. It's still in the public comment phase. It's not been totally promulgated yet.
Okay, because it's kind of got a lot of blanks that I'm not sure. I know that our sellers would not know any of this information, and I'm not sure, aside from I see on Realist that it's in a PID, but there's not any additional information on the created under whatever chapter of the government code or whatever, the district name. I don't know any of that.
Sure. So let me bring it back up here. So the name of the local government entity that formed the PID, do you have that?
All I have is what's in Realist, and it says it's the Austin Commissioners, I guess, Collection District. Is that what that is?
County commissioners or?
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be Travis County.
Okay, but so yeah, Travis County on the first one, but then I'm not saying like, is that also the name of the PID?
No, what does it call it on Realist?
That's all it says is Austin abbreviated Collection District is what is all it's called.
Yeah, you might need to Google that to get a little more information on it. But since it's not in Bayhart County, we know that it's going to be subchapter A, chapter 372 here. And basically all you have is the government entity multiple times, the name of the PID, the statutory code, and that's really it.
Hmm.
Did you get it figured out, Chelsea?
I'm not sure.
What's the address of the property?
How would it be labeled in? Sorry?
What's the address of the property?
Um, 10902 Yorktown Cove in Austin.
I'm sorry, 10902.
Yorktown.
I'll look that up offline and get with you after
Okay.
after we're
Give
done.
me a call. Okay.
Anyone else have anything?
Me, one more thing.
Yes.
I'm looking in this jurisdiction on all bunch of my neighbors. I can't see any information regarding PID, and I do know it exists. So either everybody paid off, or it's just they just don't put it in. I'm not too sure which way it is. Is it possible not even to be there?
Have you been? Do you see contact information for the PID?
Where do I look to find contact information for PID?
Well, you know the name of it, so yeah, we Googled
Yeah.
that. Perhaps you can find contact information. If not, you could call the county clerk, and hopefully that could provide you some assistance as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All righty. Well, if no one has anything else, I will sign off. Thank you for taking time to attend today. Sorry about the audio problems. They're coming out to fix my internet this afternoon. So you all have a great week. If you have any questions or if I can help you with anything, 512-965-3500.